Hey, what's up you guys? You're watching Team APS, Paul here. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Circuit Break, the set that comes out next week. I'm really excited about it. In fact, we made a video not just long ago about the top 10 new archetypes and support cards that we're looking forward to from the set. Be sure to check that out if you haven't already. And today, I'm going to talk about just the top 10 standalone cards from the set, because this is, way better than Code of the Duelist. There's a lot more interesting stuff here. There are cool new archetypes, but there are also just cool new cards that will be used in a variety of decks, and I'm really interested in seeing how some of these affect the game. So these are the top 10 in order from, I guess, least interesting to most interesting, but they're all pretty interesting, so yeah, let's hop in. Card number 1, Quiet Life. This is actually an interesting continuous spell that's it's kind of weird. So you have to activate at the start of your main phase 1 if you don't control any monsters. If any player normal summons or sets a monster, that player cannot special summon that turn. And if any player special summons a monster, that player cannot normal summon or set that turn. So it's kind of like this weird floodgate conditional thing, which basically means if you're running a deck that has to sort of start its combos with a normal summon, then you're kind of out of luck. And also, if you try to special summon first, like, say maybe Wind Witch Ice Spell, right? Then you can't normal summon that turn. This is actually really, really cool. I feel like it's probably not going to see like loads of meta play, but I like the concept here because it's sort of like saying, you either have to play slow or play fast, but you don't kind of get to do both, if that makes sense. So, yeah, it's something that, it's a continuous spell. It's going to be sort of susceptible to, your Twin Twisters and other spell trap removal. I kind of actually wish it was a trap, but, maybe it's a trap that just said something along the lines of like, if your opponent normal summons, then you activate this and they can't special summon for the rest of the turn. That'd be kind of cool. It'd be chainable and stuff. It's kind of like a D-barrier-esque thing, but maybe that'd be too powerful. Either way, though, I think it's a card that's kind of worth taking a look at, so I figured I'd mention it. And the next card is Backup Squad. It's actually another continuous spell. It's similar to Supply Squad in artwork and effect. Each time you take 1,000 or more damage by your opponent's card effect or their monster's attack, you draw one card for every 1,000 damage you took. So, kind of a neat card. It basically means that if your opponent's like attacking you directly with stuff, like 1,000, 2,000 type stuff, then you'll actually get to draw quite a lot of cards. The problem here though is that, you still have to take the damage, and so that really sucks. It means that, this isn't going to stop you from losing the game. If you get OTK'd, you still get OTK'd. But, maybe early to mid game, it's not the worst thing to have around. Like Supply Squad, it kind of profits off of you still being in a losing position, which is sort of the same gripe I have with that card is also present here. It means that, you really don't want to be taking damage and stuff, and this won't like start combos. It'll just help you keep some advantage. But I do think for maybe some slower paced decks, this might be a way to get draw power in a sort of, in a decent form. It's a continuous spell too, so again, it can kind of get blown away by the typical cards, but for budget players or for maybe lower tier decks, it might be worth looking into. Next is Fuse Line, and I'm actually going to go ahead and include Broken Line in here too, because they both come out in this set and they have kind of similar effects. Fuse Line, while it's set, you target a card in the field that's in this card's column and you destroy it. And then Broken Line is when a spell, trap, or monster effect is activated in this card's column while it's set. You negate the activation, and if you do, destroy the card. So basically, they're both column-based removal or negation effects. I, at first, was not terribly impressed by either of these cards, but now that I see new archetypes like the Jack Knights that are coming out in Extreme Force, I actually am starting to kind of get the idea here. Because with decks like Jack Knights, they can actually do a really good job of preventing your opponent from activating cards in certain columns because like they're at risk of letting you summon things or get more effects. So then you can have something like this set in those columns, and it makes it that much more dangerous for your opponent. And because there are like only 2 extra monster zones, initially at least, this means that having this set behind one of those can almost guarantee that it will be activated, so that's really cool. This actually reminds me of that one old trap, I don't remember the name of it, the one that kind of like destroys everything in its column. That type of stuff, I think that would have been really cool to see kind of make a return. So yeah, but Fuse Line and Broken Line are both pretty interesting. The next card is a new TCG exclusive, I believe. It's Samurai Destroyer. It's a synchro. It's level 7. It just takes a tuner and a non-tuner, and if it battles an opponent's monster, they can't activate cards or effects till the end of the damage step, and the monster has its effects negated during the battle phase only. If this face-up card in its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you get to target a machine in your grave, no restrictions, and special summon it. So this is actually really neat. It looks like a super heavy samurai, so I assume that maybe it's meant to be used in that deck, but really any deck can use this. It's got good attack strength, kind of average stats for what you'd expect out of a level 7 synchro, and being able to just sort of like attack kind of like an ancient gear is really neat, and then being able to summon things from the grave if it dies is also really good. I would be even better, I guess, if it could get the effect anytime it's destroyed, but it has to be destroyed by an opponent's card effect, so you know, that's maybe not so great. If it gets run over, it won't really be able to do anything for you, but it's a good stable synchro, so I think it deserves, you know, at least a try. Next card is Overdone Burial. So you activate it by discarding a monster, then you target a monster in your graveyard with a level that is less than the discarded monsters. You special summon the monster, then you equip it with this card, and a monster has its effects negated. So this is kind of quirky. It's sort of like a very balanced premature burial or, you know, monster reborn type effect. You're generally only going to be doing this to extend combos. I don't think that this is really the type of card where you would do it for much else, although I mean you could get something with high defense and protect yourself, or you could get something with, you know, high attack and use it as a beat stick. But I think this will kind of just be used more as like combo material. It can be used to discard things, filter out your hand. But yeah, it's kind of neat. Like I said, it reminds you of like premature burial and stuff, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be quite as abusable. There's more of a discard cost attached. So we'll see where this card goes. It'd probably be better in a combo deck than most archetypes. The next card is Metaverse, a card that we actually have known about for quite a long time. It basically, you take a field spell from your deck and you either activate it or add it to your hand. And a lot of people felt like this was going to be the new card if and when Terraforming maybe got like limited or even banned, although that's unlikely. But yeah, it's kind of not as good as Terraforming in that it's a trap, so you know you have to set it first and do all that. But it does offer the benefit of being able to activate a field spell during your opponent's turn, so that can actually be really scary to think about. You know, if you use a field spell that lets you search something, then you could search in your opponent's turn, or, you know, maybe take them off guard. But, you know, those types of things that happen with field spells. I don't necessarily see it being run too much, because I think right now it's overshadowed by not only Terraforming, but also set rotation, a card that's actually getting even more attention lately because of, you know, sort of spiral shenanigans and stuff. So I think if this card wants to be played, it'll probably be when one of those cards gets limited. So yeah. Next card is a Caustic Magician. This has been a pretty hyped one. It's a link to monster. It just takes 2 monsters of the same type, but you can't use tokens. Konami likes to cover their tracks. You can only summon it once per turn, and you'll see why. It's because when it's link summoned, you get to return all the monsters it points to the hand. So since its arrows point down and up, you'll be able to return one of your monsters and one of your opponent's monsters if they're both, you know, filled. There's some cool combos with this, like with Grinder Golem that I've seen and stuff like that, but just in general, this can actually be a pretty decent out to any problematic card, really. This doesn't target, and this also doesn't destroy, so it's pretty easy to like get around, say, like a Beals or a Cosmo Dark Destroyer. It's any of those cards that don't really like to be messed with. A Caustic Magician can mess with those cards. And then also you get to declare a card name and excavate cards from the top of your deck equal to the total link rating of all the link monsters co-linked to this card. Mouthful. And if you excavate any copies of that card, you get to add them to your hand, and then you send the remaining stuff to the graveyard. So this can be pretty neat. If you play like a really link heavy deck, you can end up, you know, maybe excavating like 5, 7, 8, 10, you know, cards, which is really neat. This lets you search your deck for things. If you get multiples, you get to even add them all to your hand, and then everything else goes to the grave. It's almost like a painful choice. You know, I could see something like Lightsworn's really enjoying this, just because like Wolf and Fellas will get their effects, or like Zombies liking to get, you know, the Mizukis and things in the graveyard, or even just on a base level, something along the lines of like Breakthrough Seal, or, you know, Galaxy Cyclone going to the graveyard with this effect wouldn't be the worst thing to happen. So pretty cool. The next card is Destrudo, the Lost Dragon's Frisson. I don't know how to say words like that. So if it's in your hand or it's in your grave, you can pay half your life points, target a level 6 or lower monster, special summon it to the field, reduce its level by the level of the monster, and then when it leaves the field, it goes on the bottom of your deck instead of going to the grave. So this card's got a lot of hype because it's a dragon, which means that you can easily get it in the grave with something like Dragon Ravine or Dragon Shrine, and then it can extend a lot of combos. The main combo I see people doing with this involves, it's usually for spirals or for ABCs, basically just involves getting this card in the grave and then using it to make Ancient Fairy Dragon and pop field spells and search another field spell. And effectively the guy comes from the grave for free. I mean, it's half your life points, which is a bit steep for me, but for people who are just more into just strictly the benefits, the searching, the summoning, the spamming, then this card's really good. I would like to see where it goes. I'm actually interested in trying it out in my Rockets deck, just because it's sort of a free summon that can help me make link monsters, since I feel like that deck kind of struggles to get materials in the field to do that with. So yeah, I think that this is one of those things that will be used in a lot of combo decks, maybe even in some of the top tier decks like ABCs and Spirals. We shall see. Next, we've got number 41, Medusa, the terribly tired taper. So it's a rank 4 Xyz monster, and during your standby phase, you have to detach a material from it, and it only takes 2 materials. When it's in attack position, it can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, and they also can't target it with card effects, so pretty deadly. And when it's in defense position, it changes all face-up monsters in the field to defense position and negates their activated effects. So no matter what position this card is in, it's pretty tough to deal with. I guess ideally it would probably be in defense, just so you can hold your opponent off. But also if you want to have it in an attack position, it can be a pretty aggressive threat, since your opponent's not going to be able to really pop it or target it. It doesn't have a whole lot of attack points, but you know, still an Xyz monster that's this flexible, I think is definitely going to become part of the rank 4 toolbox, if that still exists anymore. So yeah, that's number 2, and number 1 is the trap card Evenly Matched, which I don't think anybody should see this as much of a surprise. It's a trap, and at the end of the battle phase, if your opponent controls more cards than you do, you can make your opponent banish cards from their field face down, so they control the same number of cards as you. If you don't control any cards, you can even activate this from your hand. This card's kind of incredible. It really changes sort of the dynamic of Yu-Gi-Oh! It reminds me of back when like Heavy Storm was around and you didn't want to set too many cards, or back when like Gores was around and you had to be wary of attacking an opponent who had an empty field. This works a lot of the same way, because it can basically be a hand trap. If you're going second and you have this card in your hand, if your opponent goes first, summons a bunch of stuff, you can go second, skip straight to your battle phase without doing really anything, and then just activate this. And you can make your opponent banish everything face down except for 1 card, because this will be on the field when it resolves. But anyway, yeah, so this can be like extremely powerful mass removal. It doesn't even destroy, it doesn't target, it banishes face down. It's really deadly, and it really punishes, you know, a player who overextends unwisely and doesn't see it coming. So I'm interested in seeing how this affects, you know, play styles, if Konami maybe made this card just for people to not go so nuts on their first turn and just kind of spam the board out with some unbreakable board, because this actually breaks most unbreakable boards. So yeah, now I don't know if it'll be, you know, a main deck pick, or people will kind of relegate this to the side deck. I'm not really sure. And I know it's going to probably be pretty expensive. It's a secret rare after all. Who knows? You know, what do you guys think? I know that this has been a really controversial thing. Some people think this is super OP and broken. Some people think that this is a healthy, balanced card that, you know, just kind of makes people think. Who's to say? So, those are the 10 cards I'm looking forward to the most from Circuit Break. What about you? There are some cards that I had to exclude off this list. And of course, there are lots of archetypes coming out that are really cool. So you should definitely check out our video on that. And another thing, we're giving away a box of Circuit Break. If you want to win it, it ends at the end of this month. Check out all the description, details, stuff. Just scroll down, it's all down there. And I think that's going to be it. So thumbs up if you like the video, sub if you love the video, hit the bell so you're notified, and that's going to be it. See you guys in the next one.